and welcome to the Happy Hour with Jamie Ivey podcast. I'm your host, Jamie, and I'm so excited that you're here. Every week on this show, I invite a girlfriend to join me, and we chat about the big things in life, the little things in life, and everything in between. You're listening to episode number 156, and my guest is Andrea Lucado. Andrea is a freelance writer, and she lives here in Austin, and she was so kind to drive out to my house for this interview. And she even endured my dog acting a little crazy in the midst of this interview. Don't you worry, you're going to hear Landry make several appearances. Andrea and I talk about church life and what it was like for her growing up as a pastor's kid. And not just any pastor's kid, but Max Lucado's daughter. You've probably heard of Max Lucado. Just this past May, Andrea released a book called English Lessons, and it's a memoir, which is my favorite kind of books. Today, Andrea and I talk about what it looked like for her to come face-to-face with her faith and all she believed when she was also face-to-face with friends who didn't have the same faith as her. Also, why as parents, we should be comfortable and actually encourage our kids to ask questions. Also, Andrea does a great Instagram fast every week, and I think you're going to want to hear about this. We took a deep dive into how Instagram makes us feel, and we're pretty open with some of the negative things in our own lives that we personally struggle with Instagram. But I'm not a hater on Instagram. I love Instagram. It just needs to have its place. But if you're on Instagram and you want to share anything about the show that you love, you can find me there at Jamie Ivey. Hopefully you won't find me on the weekend because that's when Andrea does her fast. You guys, if you're listening and you live in South Texas and the Houston areas and Danbury and Rockport and Port Aransas, all those places, I want you to know that our house has been watching this so closely this whole entire weekend, and we have been praying for you all. If you're listening and you're looking for a tangible way to help, I do know that there are a lot of organizations out there, and I just beg you to give to something. I know that in my city, Austin, Texas, the For the City Center here, that's affiliated with my church, the Austin Stone, we have a disaster relief fund where we put money towards people who are doing good on the field. So if you would like to donate to the disaster relief fund that is through the For the City Center, and it's going to send money directly to people who need it for Hurricane Harvey, I'm going to put a link up on my webpage for you to look at it. It's forthecity.org/disaster relief. Okay, guys, next week, my guest is super fun. You're going to want to be subscribing to the show so that next week at 6 a.m. it pops up and you can listen really quickly because you want to get in on this. To subscribe, it's easy. Go to jamieivey.com/iTunes. But you're going to love her, and I'll tell you why at the end of the show, why you're going to love her, all right? But I'll give you a small clue as to who it is. You ready? Her name rhymes with Matherin Toe. That's all I'm giving you. You can listen to the end. Here is my conversation with Andrea. Hey, Andrea, welcome to the Happy Hour.
Hi, thanks for having me.
This is a special happy hour because you're literally at my house.
Yeah, I'm in your kitchen.
You're in my kitchen, sitting in my chairs. But
drinking your coffee.
Drinking my coffee, but it's 11 a.m., so we're having a coffee happy hour.
Yeah.
If you were here past 3,
I know what time.
I would have a real happy hour.
It was
for
afternoon.
You. Yeah, exactly. But we're drinking coffee, and you're at my house.
Yeah, I love it. It's beautiful.
Thank you for coming out.
So pretty. Thanks for having me.
And so you live here in Austin, born in San Antonio, previously lived in Nashville. Before that, right? Spent a year
in England. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And was that right out of college?
Yes. That was the year after I graduated. Yeah, okay. I lived there.
And you went to get your master's. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In English literature?
Yes. Well, literature, kind of general literature. So not necessarily like Shakespeare and stuff.
Okay.
But
what did you graduate with? What was your degree?
English.
Okay.
Yeah, same thing. I thought I wanted to teach. I thought I wanted to be a high school English teacher, and just thought I would get a master's so that I didn't have to student teach, because I'd heard you don't have to student teach. I don't even think that's true.
And you can go to English for a year.
Yeah. Really, I just wanted to travel.
I agree. What can we do to get overseas? Yes. Yeah.
I just wanted to live overseas for a year and travel and study on the side. That's kind of what I did.
Is that how it worked out?
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember I took this long trip before my thesis was due, and my friends in class were like, "We can't believe you're going on a 10-day trip." And I was like, "It'll be fine." Like,
it's great.
I'm in Europe. What else am I going to do? Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So
the trip, it was like a year of just so many memories, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was.
Okay. So you graduate, you go to England, and then you head to Nashville. Yes. We were just talking about that before we started recording. And what did you do there?
I worked at Thomas Nelson Publishers, now HarperCollins Christian. It was the first place I got a job out of school. I was applying to jobs in the UK. I had no connections there.
You wanted to stay though?
I kind of wanted to stay. Applied to like a couple magazine jobs there and like a World Vision job. And then my sister was like, "You should apply to Thomas Nelson because you have connections there and maybe you would actually get an interview." So that's what I did.
Connections
and they gave
matter.
me a job. Yeah, it does. Apparently that's all that matters. Yeah.
So you had to come back home.
Yes.
To the
so
States.
I came back and to Nashville, which I knew nothing about. I had one friend from high school living in Nashville at the time. Yeah, it was a random move to go to Tennessee.
But Nashville's awesome.
It is.
And it's gotten a lot better, as we were talking about.
It's like an it city now.
It is an it city.
In 2009, it was not when I moved there, but now it is.
Thanks to Deacon and Raina.
Raina.
Is that show still on?
Yeah, but it's not good anymore. Did you ever watch it?
Yes. And I was trying to remember the last thing I saw, and I can't even remember. Here's my deal with TV shows. I don't watch a lot of TV, just.
Yeah.
But when I start something,
yeah.
Like, I don't know if I stopped liking it or I just am like, something else, but I never finished it.
Okay.
Well, it's still on, I guess. I could catch up on Hulu.
Has something ever kept your attention?
I did watch Friday Night Lights all the way through.
I'm watching that right now for the first time.
Do you love it?
I love it. I'm in season 5 and I didn't even start it that long ago. It's kind of embarrassing.
Okay, so just catch me up real quick without any spoilers. Season 5.
Yes.
Has he already moved campus?
He's moved schools. Okay. Yeah. And
how many seasons are there?
I think just 5. I think I'm in the last
you're at the
one.
End.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it is so good. But Raina is in, I dressed up as Raina James for Halloween one year. That's why I call her that.
That is hilarious.
Which is just pants and a shirt. I mean, there's nothing.
That's hilarious. Well, you know, my kids go to Dripping Springs school districts, and Coach Taylor, which I know that's not his real name, but I think I would accidentally call him that if I saw him. He lives out here.
He does?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Like I've had people say they saw Coach Taylor, not his real name, but at a football game.
No way.
I know.
That's crazy. What would you do if you saw him?
Well, that's the thing. What's his name?
I don't know. I don't know his name.
Well, let's just Google it because that's what we're going to do.
So well.
Coach Taylor's name is, and people are saying it right. They're listening and they're like, Jamie, it's Eric Taylor? No, that's the name on the show. Okay. Kyle Chandler.
Kyle Chandler.
I knew that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I did. It did ring a bell. Kyle Chandler.
Yeah.
Okay. So if I saw Coach Taylor, I don't know. I think I'd play it cool.
Yeah. I know.
Is there a celebrity that if you saw them, you would get giddy?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the first thing that came to mind was I have my Christian girl singers that I've listened to since middle school and who I love, like Nicole Nordman, Bethany Dillon, or Bethany Bernard now. And
which people
Sarah
have been telling
Groves.
me they want me to have Bethany on the show.
Oh, yeah, you should.
Oh, I love Sarah Groves too.
I think she's in Dallas.
I think Bethany
Sarah
is in
and
Dallas.
Bethany are in Dallas, maybe.
Is Sarah in Minneapolis?
Oh, probably. Yeah.
Bethany is in Dallas. I should just go up the road. Okay, so yeah.
But those are people that are just they've had such an impact on me that I would get weird and I would say something weird to them. You meant so much to me.
We've been friends since 7th grade.
I feel like I know you. Yeah.
Okay,
I would do something like that.
Hollywood celebrity? Anybody?
Okay. Oh gosh, who do I love? I know not a lot of people are a fan of her, but I really love Gwyneth Paltrow. She's gotten a little bit weird.
She's getting some flack these days,
but I love the movies that she's in, and I think I would probably act really weird around her.
I think sometimes I wonder who would I get giddy about.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, we met Garth Brooks a couple of years ago, and that was cool before a show.
Was he really cool?
He was extremely exhausted. I thought this man's about he must be sick is what I thought.
Really?
He's moving so slow. He's got a sweatshirt on. But then I saw the show that night and I was like, well, he does this every night. No wonder he looks like that in the morning. I mean, he looked like he'd been run over by a train.
Yeah.
But then
was
he
this
is
when
a
he
performer.
did his 8 shows in a row?
Yes, we were in Knoxville.
Yeah.
And it's the best concert I've ever been to in my entire life.
Really?
I haven't been to a lot, but it is the best one I've ever been to.
Okay. I need to go. He was in Nashville and did multiple shows and I didn't go to a single one of them. And I don't know why I didn't do that.
You know what's even crazier is recently here in Austin, he showed up at the Broken Spoke and did a concert. Do you know what the Broken Spoke is?
I think
it's okay. You're new.
I want to say I've heard that he did that.
Yeah, I've never been there, but it's this old dance hall that's been here. I mean, years and years and years. And he just showed up, and people that were just there for the night dancing. There was a Garth Brooks show.
That is so cool. Keith Urban did that one night when I was in Nashville at the stage on Broadway, which is were
you there?
Total honky tonk gross. Mm-hmm. And we stood in line and made it in for 2 songs. And it was really the coolest thing. It was one of the coolest experiences. So cool. There's just something about seeing those people.
Wouldn't that be cool too if you, I'm not talking about the fame, but if you had the ability to just make so many people's day like that, you know what I mean? You're sitting around with your family and you're on vacation. You're like, hey, how about we just find out if we can go to this place tonight and throw a show? And you make people's day.
Yeah, that would
fun.
be crazy. The publisher wanted me to do like these coffee meetups where I'd be like, hey, I'm going to be like at this Starbucks. And very quickly we realized no one's going to come. Like, I do not have the influence to get like 4 people.
Hey, I'm in Marble Falls, Texas. Who wants to show up?
Who wants to hang out with me at Blue Bonnet Cafe? Like nobody would come.
You could have done it in San Antonio.
Yeah.
But here's what I've learned. Your real friends are like, I'll see you later. Like, I don't want to come to your event.
I'd be like, get here now. Yes. No one's here.
Somebody
I'm like
show
standing
up
by my sign, like nobody's there.
That's so funny.
Sad. But that would be cool to have that sort of like Sam Hunt, I remember did this concert on Broadway or something one night and just announced it that day. And like thousands of people were there just to watch it.
He was a Sam Hunt.
Yeah.
He's
That's
like
pretty
this
cool.
cutie little, isn't he like 20 something?
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be fun. I thought about doing like when I travel and speak, like, okay, I'm in the city. Who wants to meet up?
You could do that.
But there's this big fear that nobody shows up or 2 people. And then it's almost harder if it's just you and 3 people for 2 hours at a coffee shop that you don't know. My friend Rachel Hollis does that. When she travels and speaks, she'll be like, hey, we're going to have a meetup.
Yeah.
And people show up.
That's
I don't know
impressive.
If I should try it in a city.
You could try
I don't know.
Yeah. Just see.
Maybe we'll try it this fall when I travel. Hey, who wants to
More
come?
people would definitely show up for you. Yeah. Than for me.
Well,
I tried to get, because Waterbrook, my publisher, also publishes Tim Tebow. And I was like, well, what if you get Tim Tebow to come too? And then I'll be like, I'm going to be at the Starbucks with Tim Tebow. Who wants to come see me?
Everybody would come
and then
see
everyone would
you.
come. He was too busy.
He was busy.
He couldn't do it.
Except for they'd be like, where's Tim? Where's Tim? Who are you?
Yeah.
With Tim
Sorry.
Tebow. Yeah. Oh my
I
gosh.
could trick him.
That's hilarious.
Should have done that.
That's hilarious. Okay, Andrea, your name. Everyone will know your last name.
Uh-huh.
Do you hate talking about this?
I'm very used to it now.
We have to. It's like the elephant in the room that we just have to say and then move on.
Yeah.
Okay,
No,
so your dad is Max Lucado.
Yes.
Who's a very famous author. I mean, he's written, like 887 books.
Yes, exactly that many.
Exactly that many books that everyone has read. Like, everyone has read Max Lucado.
He could do a meetup. He could probably do a meetup.
He could do a meetup with me.
Yeah.
Max and Jamie happy hour. And he's pastored the same church for how long?
Like 30 years.
That's what I think is impressive.
Yeah.
That's
like my whole life. Like we moved to San Antonio. I was 18 months old and it was for him to be the senior pastor at Oak Hills Church. And that's what he's still doing.
That is so rare.
I know.
Why do you think that's
rare?
rare?
I didn't know that was so rare until
Because
I
you
got to
grew
know
up,
other pastors' kids and realize, most people move around kind of every few years. And so I don't know. He just went there and just stayed.
Our pastor who founded our church is still here. And,
okay.
I think our church is, we've been here almost 10 years, maybe 14, 15.
Okay.
Someone's going to correct me. I have no idea. But that's a long time.
Yeah.
It
is.
It is. So you grew up a pastor's kid, PK. My husband, Aaron, was also a pastor's kid. So I've heard all kinds of pastor kid stories.
Oh, yeah.
But
then your kids are kind of pastors' kids.
But here's something funny, okay? So my husband's a worship leader.
Okay.
And this past Sunday, we're getting ready to go to church. Well, when Aaron leads worship, he leaves the house at, 6 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
Also, I hope everyone hears my dog Landry because she's so
sad.
mad. She's angry. She's upstairs.
She really wants to be on this podcast.
So Aaron usually leaves the house before we wake up, right? So this Sunday he's home and we're all going to church together, which happens literally,
I'm sure that never happens.
3 times a year.
Yeah.
Maybe. And so we're all going to church together and I'm telling the kids, we got to go. Dad has to be there on time. And they're like, well, what is he doing? And I'm like, well, he's going to church. He's working. And they're like, no, what do you mean? He's not leading worship, is he? And I'm like, no, but he's a pastor. I'm like, what do you mean he's a pastor? He plays music. And I'm like, no, like your dad is a pastor and an elder. Like he has to be there on Sunday mornings to do things. They had no clue.
They didn't know.
And then we looked at each other and like, wow, we have failed. Like our kids don't even know that their dad is like more than a musician. So
they're like, my dad's in a band and he plays at this church.
Exactly.
His main gig is this church.
He just plays his guitar. Yeah.
That's probably good though.
They're
not going to have like a complex or.
We've tried really hard. You don't seem like you have a complex. Did you work through it?
I worked through it.
Nothing against. I think all of us kids work through all of our stuff growing up. So it's nothing
there's
against.
Always something.
There's something. I always say my kids are going to need counseling for sure. But growing up as a pastor's kid, did you know that, not that that's weird. It's not weird. That's not what I'm trying to say. Did you realize maybe the gravity of that or did you have to watch your parents struggle through things? And what was that like as a child?
So I don't think my parents were really good at, I didn't know if there was church drama, I didn't know, like they kept all of that really like away from us. And so I think that was good. I didn't necessarily see them go through. Our church did like change denominations when I was in high school, or like left a denomination to become non-denominational. So it was Church of Christ.
I thought it was always Church of Christ.
Yeah. And now it's just Oak Hills Church. And so I think I'm sure that was a big deal. I just didn't know and didn't really care. I was like 16. But for me, it was like church just really became a really comfortable place. It was my home. You were always there. And that was my norm. It's like I didn't know anything else. So I didn't really know what to compare it to. And I think I enjoyed it. I think I liked being known in the church community, liked it and didn't like it at the same time. I didn't necessarily like it when my dad preached about me or like had a story about me.
Did he ask you first?
And then no, I don't think he ever asked us first. But then he stopped. Like I think in adolescence, he just stopped doing that completely. I haven't been in a sermon in a really long time.
Yes. It's like blogging. When your kids are little, you tell all about them. You put naked pictures of them up. And then they get to like 9 and you're like, maybe I shouldn't tell the whole world this. It will never go away. Okay,
Yeah, I think that's what he did. So I just remember, church was just a part of our daily life. Like we were always doing stuff. And my mom, you're kind of a pastor by default if you're a pastor's wife. And so I just remember her doing a lot of stuff and like being on the phone with people and like counseling people. And I always kind of knew when to like not bug her. I could tell
she's in the mode.
The tone of voice.
Pastor mode.
Oh, she's helping someone right now. So I think it was later that I realized, I think I allowed a lot of pressure to be put on me as a pastor's kid that I didn't realize I was kind of assuming when I was growing up. Kind of this like, you need to have your stuff together spiritually. You need to be put together on the outside and the inside. Like a lot of stuff I think was happening that I wasn't really aware of when I was growing up. But for the most part, I have really happy church memories and really good memories of that time.
I feel like a lot of our generation, I'm 39, I know you're younger than me, but a lot of our generation who grew up in Christian homes, I feel like they had like 1 or 2 experiences. Like, I feel like it's maybe like, like the story that you just held, that they have a lot of great experiences as well. And then we have a whole generation, I might say, of people who have left church and grew up in church, but they kind of had this legalistic kind of tension that they lived in almost. Like, for example, I was listening to a sermon this morning when I was walking by Matt Mason. I think he's a pastor in Alabama. And he was talking about legalism, and he was talking about how many people who, as they get older, they leave the faith. But what he was saying was maybe they had no faith. They just had rules,
Yeah.
And I walked through that as an adult. And I feel like that's kind of what you wrote about, of kind of going away, getting out of this church culture that you grew up in and that you were saturated in. And then you really came face to face with like some questions.
Yeah.
And then what happened on the outside, what happened on the other side is what differentiates between you still choosing your faith and other people leaving. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I think I grew up like you. I was in church all the time. My parents weren't pastors, but I was in church all the time. But I don't think I ever really grabbed onto anything as my own until I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even like I was questioning. I don't think I knew, Whereas your story that you talk about, which I want to hear about, this kind of journey that you went through over a year of kind of questioning things.
Yeah.
I'm sure that had to be extremely scary at first. Like, wait, am I supposed to question these things as a pastor's kid? Did you ever feel that way? Or did you just kind of jump in? I'm a curious person. I feel safe here.
Yeah. I definitely didn't feel safe. I was like, this is really rattling my foundation. And because I was having questions like, how do I know God exists? How do I know Jesus was really his son? Like the divinity of Christ, like really big questions. And I had always been curious. Right. I remember like my dad, I talk about this in the book, but my dad tells the story that I don't remember, but apparently he was telling us when we were little about the Garden of Eden and like that whole story. And I interrupted him and I was like, wait, if God didn't want us to eat from that tree, why did he put it there in the first place?
Valid question, right? Yeah.
And I'm still like, I don't know.
I know.
And my dad was like, that's when I knew you were going to be like our curious child. And so I had always kind of asked questions and maybe pushed back a little bit, kind of like, don't tell me like what to believe. Like, let me decide this for myself. But not really fully did I embrace that until I went to Oxford. And I was like, I had to ask the questions. Like I couldn't push them aside anymore. I just felt like I had to do it. And so it was really unnerving and kind of oh gosh, if this isn't true, like, I don't know who I am. I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't know who I can trust. Like, if there's not a God watching out for me, what am I doing? Like, will I be safe? So it was a lot of like hard questions.
Why do you think those questions came up when you left to go to England? I mean, I kind of have my own theory.
Yeah.
You grew up going to church, you're a pastor's kid. You grew up going to Christian school. You went to a Christian university. And then all of a sudden, you're in a secular kind of more environment. Is that what happened?
Yeah, I think so. It was just the first time I was in a place where not everyone believed what I did. I was just so sheltered. And I had gone to like a Christian high school, kind of. It's not like all of our teachers had to be Christians or anything, but I hadn't been in an environment where church was not kind of the culture, where Christianity wasn't the culture. And so it was the first time that I was in a classroom full of people who did not believe what I believed, hanging out with people who did not believe what I believed. And I was just like, my world was rocked. I mean, I was 22 before. I should have been doing a better job, like putting myself in uncomfortable situations until then, but I hadn't. I had just been friends with people who were just like me. And then all of a sudden I didn't have that option. And I was like, oh my gosh, you people are atheists and agnostics and you're actually perfectly fine in life. Like, you like your life, you love your boyfriends. Like, and I don't know how y'all are doing this without God. Yeah.
So do you remember the first time that you kind of sat back? I mean, I don't know if it was right when you got there or when school started. Do you remember the first time where you kind of sat back and thought to yourself, I have questions that I'm kind of scared to say out loud?
I remember a night, I rode my bike everywhere in Oxford. Everyone rode a bike to get around. And
that sounds so dreamy.
It was dreamy and also like miserable sometimes when it rained and you had no other way to get places. So I was riding my bike home from class. And I think this must have just been a month or two into my time. And it was nighttime because my classes were at night. And I just remember I think I'd been talking to my friend Ben, who was an atheist that night or something. And I just remember thinking, I totally get where he's coming from. Like, I can totally imagine life without God. And before that, I had only been able to imagine being distanced from God, which I kind of thought was doubt. But this was more of a, whoa, like I could imagine God just not even being here. And I've never been able to imagine that before. He's always just kind of been there. And so that was pretty early on. But my journals, almost from day one, are about, when I go back and read them, are like me wrestling with like big questions of like God's existence and how I can know, and like trying to prove it to myself, and really bad apologetics in my own little journals. Right. But that is a big moment that I remember for me being like, whoa.
So as a Christian, did that scare you? Or did that say, you know what, I'm going to like figure it out to make sure I'm right? Because I'm kind of the opposite of you a little bit, where I'm sure that as a child, if someone told me the story of Adam and Eve, I'd be like, oh, awesome. You know, like it wasn't in my life until a couple of years ago that I even actually cared about theology. I mean, I had this mentality of, why do I need to know this? I trust my leaders. And that's embarrassing to say out loud, but it was where I was. I was like, I'm a mom. I don't need to know these things. And then when I started learning them, I was like, oh, these actually transform a lot of my thinking, answer my questions. But they brought up a lot more questions as well, you know, but it was good. But were you the kind of person who thought, I'm going to dive into this? And also you talking, you know, like talking with your parents about this, was that scary to bring these things up to your pastor dad?
Yeah. Okay. So I don't know that I did talk to my parents about this while I was there.
Okay. So just after.
Yeah. After for sure. But I don't remember. I remember calling my mom a lot, crying because school was hard and I like didn't think I could make it. Yeah. But I don't remember talking to them about the faith stuff or that many people. Like it was a big internal thing that I was doing that I talked to a couple of people about. So I think I did just kind of think, okay, I've got to figure this out because I have these friends here who have really good arguments against it. Arguments that I don't really remember what their arguments were, but I just remember thinking, oh, that's a good point. Yeah. That's a really good point. And so I was like, I've got to figure this out. And I went to a class, like I visited a class with someone. I went to like I don't think it was a debate, a talk by an apologist. Like I was really like, okay, I've got to figure this out. I've got to know if this is true or not, with the hope that it was, you know, like, okay, I really hope that this is true, but I should probably be open-handed and open to it not being true to make sure that it is true. Yeah.
Were you willing to walk the other way?
I don't know. I don't know if I would have ever fully gone the other way. But there have got to be, looking back at kind of my behavior and like kind of how I was, and even like kind of a relationship I got into at the end of that year with someone who was not a believer, like I think that I was kind of open to that. Like, okay, if this isn't true, I can just live kind of like my friends are living here, and I can do that. I wanted it to be true, and I think deep down it was still there. But looking at kind of how I was definitely open to sort of going that way and just being a good person who loved people and
lived a good life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of what they were doing. They were like, we just, care about people and just be good and live your truth. And it's kind of what they lived by.
Yeah. And without a God, it sounds amazing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. I could do anything. Yeah. Like I could drink as much as I wanted. I could date whoever I wanted. That was very freeing. Like, oh, I don't have to just date like these great Christian guys. I can date anybody. And it's like exciting. And you don't have to like, oh, sex before marriage, that doesn't matter. Yeah. It kind of sounded nice. Like I had friends who lived with their boyfriends and had for years. We were like 22. And I was like, that's so cool. It's so cool that they do that.
You're so awesome.
Also kind of judged them, but still
but still
it was cool.
I wish I could do that.
I know. I was like, I wish I had the nerve to just like do that. Yeah.
Because if you took all of it, all of the, and I don't want to say rules by any means, because that's
right.
It's not what it is. They're, if you took all of that away, it would seem freeing.
Yeah.
But we know that it doesn't actually bring freedom by any means.
Right. Yeah.
So what do you feel like your relationship with God is different since you came back?
It's more honest for sure, I think, because I kind of stood there and asked him my questions. I feel like I can do that now a little bit, but also it's weird because I have not had that same doubt struggle since I moved back. It's almost like I needed to have that moment, and then the belief was just kind of there. And so that's been, not to say it wouldn't come up again. And I've had doubts about areas of my faith, but as far as like God's existence and that kind of stuff, I'm not like questioning that anymore. And so it almost feels like God and I went through something really hard together and made it through closer, and I've had a couple more like seasons like that with God since then. So I'm really grateful for that, because I could have totally gone the other way in that.
Okay, guys, I know you're loving the show with Andrea, but I want to take a quick break to thank our sponsors. First, it is Third Love. It's no secret, bra shopping is not that fun. It's actually one of my least favorite things to do. But what if you could skip the lines, skip the dressing rooms, all the hassle, and find that perfect fitting bra in mere minutes? Does that sound good to you? It sounds amazing to me. If that's something you're interested in, check out Third Love. All you need to do is take Third Love's online Fit Finder quiz, and they're going to recommend the bra that's right for your size and your shape. They're basically obsessed with finding the perfect fit for every woman. That's why Third Love is the only lingerie brand that offers bras in half-cup sizes. You may be a half-cup size and you just never knew it. And best of all, you can try one of Third Love's amazingly comfortable bras for free for 30 days. You only pay the $2.99 shipping. You can really try this bra, guys. Cut the tag off, wash it, wear it all day, work in it, wear it around the house, wear it to a football game, out with your friends, whatever. You might even forget that you're wearing it. If your Third Love bra isn't your new favorite bra, no problem. You can just return it or exchange it for free. I'm in love with my Third Love bra, and I'm about to go online to order a few more because I literally wear it every day, and I'm going to need some more. Guys, go to thirdlove.com/Jamie now to find your perfect fitting bra and try it for 30 days. That's thirdlove.com/Jamie to try your new favorite bra for free. thirdlove.com/Jamie. Okay, guys, I'd also like to thank Honest Tea. For almost 20 years, Honest Tea has committed to being transparent and authentic through its organic and fair trade certified bottled teas and kids' juice drinks. They produce a refreshingly honest product, both with what's in their bottle and in their outlook. All you need to do is take a sip and taste the honest difference. I'm joining Honest Tea in celebrating the lighthearted ways that we are less than perfect through the #RefreshinglyHonest project. You guys know I'm pretty open with saying how I am not perfect. So what is #RefreshinglyHonest? Here's what it is, guys. It's sharing our truth in exchange for the aha moment when we realize, through a shared laugh, a like, or a sigh of relief, everyone else is just like us, perfectly imperfect. I have a refreshingly honest story to share with you. Here it is. Are you ready? We just started school, but I remember on the last day of school, I used to make these cute, happy first day of summer muffins for my kids. Like they wake up first day of summer. Now I'm like, God, let's all sleep in and just eat cereal. I just can't do it anymore. Guys, are you refreshingly honest? Share the fun and funny ways that you're less than perfect on social media by using the hashtag refreshinglyhonest. Want more honesty? You can learn more by visiting honesttea, that's TEA.com/podcast. All right, here is the rest of my conversation with Andrea. I think as a parent, sometimes I think about my kids and their faith. Not sometimes. I think about that a lot. But I honestly, as a parent, would rather them do this journey that you describe in your book and that you walk through of really like digging in and diving in and saying, hey, why do I believe? What do I believe? All these things, than just like grasping onto my faith maybe and just being a good person with my parents' faith. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would much rather them walk through that and really, really figure it out for themselves.
Yeah.
Than just do what they think is right because of their parents.
Which is so good. And I think my parents had that same mentality. Yeah. But I think I have seen kind of parents really freak out about that and kind of like become really like, oh, I'm going to like send all of these books to my kids and like make sure they're doing everything right. And I think that can kind of suffocate their faith. Whereas I think my parents were always kind of like you and really like open to me asking questions. And even if they were sort of freaking out on the inside, they didn't show it. And so I felt like I had that freedom to do that. And so that's good because they're not going to feel like this is something I have to believe or I have to do because of them, but they're going to know, okay, I can explore this for myself.
Yeah. And I mean, I've said this before, like as someone who just really, really believes in like God's control and God's sovereignty, I don't believe that I could like have the ability to change my kid's heart. You know, I think that only something God can do. And so if I can give them, you know, the right material and I can love them and show them and teach them, then what else can I do?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And you're just going to have to like, let them journey on their own.
Yeah. I bet that's hard. Is that just terrifying?
It is hard. You know where it's been hard? I grew up Baptist. And so where it's been hard, just to be, I don't know if I've shared this on here before. I grew up, and this will be different probably than some people, probably the same, but I grew up where someone tells you like you're so bad and you need Jesus and you need to pray and accept him tonight because if you die, what if, right?
Yeah. That
was the mentality that I grew up in. And so without getting into all of that, you know, Jesus is the one that draws us to him and all those things. And I think whatever, with my children, I feel like it would be so easy for me to sit down and be like, here's all these verses in Romans. You're a sinner. You need to accept him. Let's pray. And then we're good. Right. Yeah. But instead we sit back and we give them God's word and we let the Holy Spirit actually do the job that he does. And then we have seen 2 of our kids like come to faith in Jesus. And we can actually say, we did nothing. Like we didn't make them say a prayer and we didn't. Does that make sense?
You didn't say, okay, you're 8. You should probably think about getting baptized.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We just really want to watch God work in their lives. And it's been beautiful.
That's really cool.
It's been really beautiful. I mean, just this past Easter, one of my kids who we have literally watched God draw him to him. And it's been so beautiful. And we've had conversations before about, hey, we've had conversations and talking about following Jesus. And one time about a year ago, he just said, I'm just not ready. And I think that would freak a lot of parents out.
Yeah.
Right? Like, what do you mean you're not ready? And for me, I was like, it's okay. You know, like, because it's not on me, you know, it's not my job it's God's job. And so, but on Easter, like we had such great conversations and he was like, I'm ready to follow Jesus.
That is so cool.
Isn't that cool?
Yes.
So
How
it was
old
really
is he?
cool. He's 11.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's cool to see. It's hard as parents. And so kudos to your parents for literally teaching you God's word and then letting him work in your life. You know?
Yeah. No, I take that for granted a lot. I've seen it a lot more now that I'm older. I'm like, oh, they did a really good job of not like freaking out about that guy that I was dating or freaking out about whatever else I was doing while I was over there. And so that they probably didn't even know about. So yeah, it's good. Like that teaches you, that will give your kids a sense of, okay, there's a lot of grace here. Like I'm allowed to ask questions. I'm allowed to not be ready. Yeah. Good for you.
Yeah. So is that your advice to parents? Don't freak out.
Yeah. Don't freak out.
Let them ask
They'll
questions.
Be okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh
because
this dog,
it's okay.
She's going to stop.
She's adding a lot.
She's adding a lot
to it. She just has things to say.
She does have things to say.
She's got opinions about what we're talking about.
Andrea, I'm just such a professional around here. Can't you tell? I run a professional organization.
This is very professional.
Okay. So that's your don't freak out.
Yeah. Don't freak out. Yes. Because I kind of compare like doubt or any sort of questions into, if you walk into a dark room and you can't find the light switch, you have to feel your way around. And in doing that, you kind of get to know the world that you're in better than if the lights were on and you could just like knew what path to go. And so kind of once you feel around for your faith, you own it better because it's like, okay, I really had to like know this. I really had to learn this for myself. And so it's almost good. I think if your kid is struggling with faith or like doubting or saying, I don't know about this, like, I think that's good because they're not just being spoon-fed. They're not just agreeing to it. It means that they're thinking for themselves. Yeah.
Which is what we want.
Yeah. Right.
Because then they're not leaving
faith.
the church. Exactly.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
They're not doing the thing that apparently every millennial is doing, which is leaving the church or when they go to college.
You don't have the answer for me, do you?
I don't have the answer, no. But I do think, and I think the church is getting better about this, but I think millennial, and I'm 31, so I'm like an older millennial maybe. I think that there was some inauthenticity to church. Like I remember that, like just kind of production or stuff that, just didn't seem very genuine, and millennials really want things to be authentic and real and genuine, and they're not interested in something that's a production or fake or a hypocritical leader. So I just think there's a lot of trust that's probably been broken. But I also think millennials might be the generation that comes back, in 10 years or so and have really owned their faith and are like leading the church.
Yeah.
So
because the ones with faith it's real.
Right. Yes.
You know why millennials like the happy hour? Because we bring real conversations and it's so unproduced. We have dogs on the show.
Yeah.
Like it's just.
That's why I love it. I'm like, I'm just listening to a conversation between two people.
With me and Andrea and Landry.
Yeah. Landry's my favorite.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Andrea, I need to talk to you about something. I need you to tell me how you do it.
Okay.
So you're like, you have no idea what I'm going to say. I'll set it up real quick so you know what I'm talking about. When Aaron and I were in Ireland a couple weeks ago, I did not have internet a lot. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And so I wasn't on my phone a lot and I loved it. And the last 2 days I turned on my internet and every time we were driving, I was looking at social media the whole time.
Yeah.
And I was like, what happened to the 6 days before when I just looked out the window or I took a nap or I talked to my husband? And now I'm just looking at everyone's pictures. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I told Aaron, I was like, okay, listen, here's the deal. And I haven't started this yet. And we're recording in July. And so this is September now. And so maybe I have. But I told Aaron, I said, this is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to do social media on the weekends.
No way.
That's what I said. And I also said, I'm going to put my phone somewhere besides my bedside.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. It's my alarm. That's my excuse, right?
I know.
It's my alarm.
Yeah. Who has an alarm clock?
But do you know what I do when I wake up in the morning?
Yeah.
I open Instagram.
Yeah.
Do you know what I do before I fall to bed at night? I look at Instagram.
Yeah.
And so I decided I haven't started it yet, but I know that you do this mostly. Yeah. I'm not going to assume all the time, but you do. Mm-hmm. You don't do Instagram or social media on the weekends.
Yeah, I know.
Tell me why. Tell me how. Okay. Tell us all.
Yeah. So I love it. It's something I've been doing for a while and I just thought, I should tell people that I do this. Okay. So I struggle. I've also had a couple of years where I was like off Facebook completely when Facebook was kind of the thing. And so I feel like I'm kind of an all or nothing person. I'm not very good at balance, but I feel like this is the first time I've had balance maybe in social media. I'm either like, I'm going to get off of it completely for a year or I'm going to be on it all the time. So this is a good, I sign off at around end of day on Fridays, like 5:00, and I delete my apps from my phone.
That's what I read.
People have been like, that's stupid. But if I don't, all I'm going to do is like automatically scroll over to the page where I know that they are and get on. Like I can't stay.
It's like your body just does it.
I know.
You can't even stop.
Yeah. Even when I'm off, I scroll and I'm like, oh, it's not there. That's right. I can't get on
every
it.
weekend.
Yeah. So, and I get bad FOMO and I just compare myself. And like, I also realized I think my attention span is really bad.
And I read that when you talked about that part, I was like, this is true.
Yes. I mean, I have a really hard time just reading, for 20 pages without checking my phone, or writing, especially like over the course of writing the blog post I wrote about being off social media on the weekends. I was clicking over to everything, like every 2 sentences. And I was like, I don't think I used to be this way. Like in college, because we had Facebook in college, but we didn't have smartphones or anything. Mm-hmm. And so I just don't think I was like that. And I kind of remember life before, and I'm like, I think that I used to be able to really sit and write. And I'm like, if my goal in life is to be the best writer I can be, social media is not helping me be a good writer, because
and if you're not living either.
Right. Yeah. I'm not having experiences because I'm looking at other people's experiences, or thinking about how am I going to curate this experience I'm having right now for my followers later? Like, what picture am I going to post and what am I going to say?
I know. I'm with you. Yes.
I don't like it. I am actually at a point where I'm like, what good is it doing in my life? Sometimes I'm really inspired by stuff that I see. It's good to see like friends' babies that I never would get to see. But I'm like, other than that, I don't know if this is playing a good role in my life.
It's a discussion I think a lot of people are having. Aaron and I had it a lot in Ireland, where because we were kind of removed, and we also had this moment of like, why do we need to post all of our vacation pictures?
Yeah,
for everyone to see. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Well, then I was like, I'm just going to post 1 picture a day, and he kind of pushed back and was like, well, why do you need them to see this? And I was like, I don't know. It's just what you do.
What we do. Yeah.
Like, I didn't have a reason of why I couldn't.
Yeah. I remember my first trip. I didn't get on Instagram till like 2012, which I think might be late compared to, I didn't understand what it was. But then I figured out what it was, and I went on a trip to Hawaii, and it was the first time I was posting about my vacation. I was like, this is awesome. People can see all these beautiful things that I'm seeing. And like when we're all dressed up at night, and I'm like, before that vacation was the last time I went on a trip where I didn't feel the need to post about what I was doing. And it's just not reality. Like, and so taking 48 hours off, I'm like, oh, if I do something cool on Saturday, I can't let people know. Only I know that I'm doing this.
What's wrong with like, I know. We're like, well, if we don't put it on Instagram, no, it didn't happen.
Yeah. Right. And it used to not be that way. Mm-hmm. Like we used to be fine without that. And so I just don't, and I know people who are off social media completely, and I'm just jealous of them all the time. I'm like, y'all are like, you had someone on your podcast.
I was going to say, I did an interview.
Yes.
And she's an author and released a book. I mean, which is like,
oh, I didn't know that she had released. I'm sure you talked about that, but
yes.
Wow. Okay.
And it's not on social media.
Okay. That's maybe my goal.
So I read that the other night, and I thought to myself, man, this is what I can do. It's like a good starting point for me to really kind of reevaluate it, And here's what's crazy. The more followers you get, the more you're like, oh, well, I have to do something.
Yeah.
And in one sense, my Instagram is a really good marketing place for my podcast. It is what it is, right? But also, I'm having to check my heart of like, why am I putting this up? Uh-huh. Is it really to encourage, or is it just to, I don't know.
Yeah, I know. Because I have put quotes from my book up because I felt like I needed to do, I'm like, oh, I need to and then I'll try to be like, well, let me put the quote up that is actually helping me right now. Like, let me try and be genuine with this. And I'm just usually not. I mean, when I post pictures of my niece, like that's probably the most genuine that I am on social media, because I'm like, really, everybody needs to know who she is. But it's just.
And I think for me too, I don't struggle really as much. And this is just individually for me. I don't struggle as much with like FOMO or looking at other people's pictures, wishing, oh, that's not fair. They get to do that. By God's grace, that's not a struggle for me. But what I do struggle with is this other internal things that you wouldn't even know about unless I told you of like, oh, I need to put this picture up because I need them to know that I was here.
Yeah.
That's embarrassing to say out loud, and that's dumb.
But that's true. No, I'm supposed to be off of it on the weekends. And then I did this like live podcast I was telling you about with seminary dropout. Landry's like,
listen, here's the thing. You can be out. You just got to sit down. Okay.
But I had just gotten my hair done, and I was like, I really want to know what my hair looks like in pictures of people posting of this event, and got on it like just to see what I look like. I was like, there's a lot of vanity for me. Like, I want to know what I look like in pictures. And that's embarrassing to say out loud.
I know.
Like, what did I look like in that? How did I look from that angle? And I'm like, ew, I don't like that about myself.
I know.
So
for me, something that I'm trying to do is I'm saying these things out loud. to thousands of people right now.
Yeah.
But I do have these conversations with Aaron, my husband, and he's really good at keeping me in check because he knows how awful of a sin that I have in my heart. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he knows my things that I'm not doing because I want to like do things to honor God. I want to honor Jamie. And so he knows those. And so he can kind of like very kindly keep me in check. But I've also told like a girlfriend of mine, you know, like here's a struggle that I have. And so I feel like just saying it out loud, it doesn't mean I can't ever post on Instagram. I don't need to give it up. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
But I think when we need to constantly evaluate.
Yeah. Just be honest about what's happening.
Yes.
Yeah. I agree.
So I'm going to start trying that.
Okay, good. When are you going to start? This weekend?
I'm going to start this weekend.
Look,
I'm like, what do I have this weekend?
I know. No.
You know what? But I will have to delete the apps.
Yes.
100%. It is
no
muscle
memory at this point. And my friends were like, oh, it's so much work to reload the apps. It's really not. It doesn't take long at all.
And it's worth it.
You just put it back on.
Yeah.
And I'm not usually on my computer much on the weekends anyway, so that's not as much of a temptation. But I do still look at, like I check the weather a lot or I check the news a lot. I'm still looking at my phone. I'm just like looking at something else. It's like helps.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's better though. I think it's good.
Yeah, it's really good. And it's really short. It's just 2 days. And I can start to feel antsy on Sunday. I'm like, I want to scroll.
What's happening?
I want to look.
Aaron went on a sabbatical a couple of years ago for the whole summer. So like when people at our church go on sabbatical, you get a new phone number.
Oh,
I mean, you go on sabbatical.
That's good.
You don't get email. You get a new phone number. You were off the grid. So he did that a couple summers ago. And it was one of my favorite summers ever because he was not working off the grid. And I went off social media as well. And I just remember thinking, hey, if anyone has a baby, can you just text me or something? Like, I'll never know.
Call me.
I'll never know where you went on vacation. But it's true. We used to do that.
That's cool.
I know. So it was a really good summer. Looking back, it was a lot of fun.
See more presents.
Okay, Andrea, you recently preached at your dad's church.
Yeah, just this weekend.
Hello.
I know. I was like, can I say I'm preaching here? Do I say I'm speaking here? I don't really know what
I'm
doing.
I always ask Aaron, I'm like,
said
do I say that I'm preaching at a church? He's like, yeah, you can preach. Yeah.
I know. I was like,
so what was that like?
Okay, so I was really nervous. Like, I don't think I've ever spoken to that many people, but also just being at my home church was really like vulnerable. I was like,
I'm telling you, speaking to your people is harder for me.
I would rather talk to strangers.
Any day.
Yeah.
Any day.
There's just something about it that I'm like, and the 10 o'clock service is the one that my whole family came to and sat on the front row. And I was like the most nervous for that service. But, okay, so it was one service Saturday night and 3 on Sunday. And
gosh,
signing books after each one. And my dad does that every weekend. And I was exhausted. Like I've never been that exhausted. I think I was like, how do people do this? How do preachers do this?
I don't know. And
it's
write
amazing.
new sermons every week.
Yeah.
I literally, it takes me 3 weeks to write a 30-minute talk.
Oh yeah. Like that's, And I just read over it like a million times and like they can't even do that. And so but I also felt like way more peace, like by the time I got up there to talk than I ever have. And I really felt God beforehand be like, this is not about you. Like, I really just need someone to talk about me. Like, it's always been this way, whether it's like Paul in the synagogues or, you know, some like small church in the country. Like, I just need people to talk about me. And it's you this weekend. Get over it.
It's your turn. Yeah.
So, okay, thanks. And I was like, oh yeah, okay. And then it's not like about my performance and about how well I do, but it's like, and that message came together in a really cool way where I was like, whoa, like I didn't know that these scriptures would be so connected. And this just seems like what I'm really supposed to talk about, which doesn't usually happen. I think I usually kind of force things if I'm talking. And so, yeah.
Were you nervous about like preaching in front of your dad?
Yeah, I was. And I saw him he was at every service because he was doing like announcements and like introducing me. And then at one of the services, he went out to the back and stood in the back. And I saw him and I was like, oh, that kind of makes me nervous that he's standing back there. The fact he even like asked me to do it made me think, okay, he has faith in me. Like he knows I can do this.
Yeah, he's not just going to let anyone into his pulpit.
So,
I mean, at his church, yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, well, it was taking a chance for sure. I have very limited like teaching experience, but the fact
What'd you teach on?
Singleness in the church because they're doing a series on the family this summer. And so my dad was like, could you be like the single person who talks to the single people? Yeah. And at first I was like, I don't want to do that. And then I was like, no, I have some things to say about this for sure. And so I talked about Naomi, kind of the story of Ruth, but from like more Naomi's perspective, because we kind of know how Naomi felt about everything more than Ruth. And so So
That's
it was,
awesome.
and that was really vulnerable too. Cause I was like, moving back to Texas, still single was a big deal for me. And that was kind of like admitting to my home church, like I went away for 8 years and I came back and I'm still single.
Yeah.
I don't know how y'all feel about that. Yeah. But they don't really care. Only I care.
Only you care. Whenever I have women on the show and they talk about singleness, I mean, we get so many like amazing emails from single women.
Yeah.
They're like, please, we love it. We love hearing from women in our same life and season. And so I know that
I do love
people will love it as well. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm glad you got to do that.
Yeah. It was
Preacher
a good
woman.
experience. And then I was like, I'm still looking for my day off. I'm like, when do I get a day off this week? Because Saturday and Sunday were not days off. And
I know.
Yeah. Does Aaron take a day?
Yes, Mondays.
Okay.
And we don't have a Saturday night service, but he used to do all 4 on Sundays. Wow. So he would lead worship 4 times and be there at 6 a.m.
I'm sure that's just a whole different type of exhaustion, I would imagine, like leading worship.
On Mondays, the older we've gotten, we always say we're getting too old to this. He doesn't do that anymore. He just it's been a year since he went to 2 services.
Okay.
But it would take him till almost Tuesday afternoon to recover. I mean, just exhausted. Yeah. And he would come home. We did the same thing every time. He'd stop at Whole Foods, get dinner, come home, and we would sit on the couch and he would watch TV because he couldn't turn his mind off.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm that way after I teach. I go back to the hotel and I'm like, hey, go to bed. Yeah. And so we would watch like an hour of TV and not even talk. And then he'd go to bed and then he'd come out of the room at like noon the next day, like a zombie.
I get that. It's so weird how it just takes that energy from you. It was 1:00 yesterday before I finally sat down to do some work because I was like, I feel totally spent. Like I cannot do, and I had to do an interview on Monday and I was like, I can't do this. And it was just like a normal interview, but I was like, this feels so hard.
Done.
I'm so tired.
And then here's this too. I didn't get this. So Aaron's been doing this for years, right? And he would come home from a weekend and he'd be like, I'm just so tired. I'm so tired of talking. I'm so tired of being on. And I would be like, I don't get it. Like, it's your job. Just, you're fine. And then a couple of years ago when I started like traveling and teaching at churches and stuff, I would come home and I'm like, I'm so tired from just like smiling and being on and being kind. I am kind, but you know what I mean? Like, it's not like you're fake.
Yeah.
It's not fake by any means. It's just you're happy.
Yeah.
And you're engaged in what everyone says.
Yes. Yeah. It was kind of like that. You small talk a lot, like in between and like to different people. And that was really like, like, okay, I think I can like teach the same lesson a few times in a row. That wasn't as hard as I thought it would be, but it was like greeting in between and like being on. Yeah. Yeah. And then you just want to be home and just be and like not do anything. Yeah.
Okay. Andrea, I always finish. What are you loving and what are you reading?
Okay. So I'm loving, the house that I live in has a grill, like an outdoor grill. We rent, so it's not my house. And I'm loving the grill, which I've never grilled before. And I didn't think I would even know. Just chicken. That's all I've done. I've only done it twice. But the fact that I learned how to turn it on and like I had to change the propane tank and everything. And I was
did it all by
really
yourself?
proud of myself. Yes, I did it by myself.
That's a big girl thing.
Yeah, I know. And I was like, this is something I always am kind of like, guys do this.
Right.
But I was like, I can do this.
Yeah.
There's a grill in the backyard. Why don't I use it? So I'm loving that. Chicken.
We grill out a lot in the summer. You could do everything.
Really?
Aaron does broccoli on the grill.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Like on squash. A pan?
No. Well, we have a green egg. I don't know if it's different.
Oh, yeah.
Yours is gas.
Yes.
Might be different. But we do all kinds of things on the grill.
Cool.
Pizza, veggies.
Ooh, I want to do pizza. I need some good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to try branch out.
Yeah,
chicken.
You can do great chicken though. Okay, what else?
Yeah. I'm also so we talked about running a little bit, and I used to like be a really big runner, and then I kind of have like back stuff. And
I do too.
Really?
I have degenerative disc on the bottom. What do you have?
A pinched nerve.
That's awful.
Yeah, it's just I'm like I hate getting older. It's just like the worst. It's really cramping. But I've been doing different workouts, and I've been doing Camp Gladiator, which is like an outdoor boot camp in a lot of places, but it started in Austin. And I just started it. This is like my second month and I really love it. It's fun and it's super hot. But like yesterday I got a little bit sick towards the end because I was so hot.
You go in the
but
morning
it's really
or the afternoon?
Afternoon, usually. I am not a morning workout person. Yeah. I can't get myself out of bed. So I love Camp Gladiator. And I just started taking voice lessons. So, which is like my adult hobby. Like I need a hobby or anything.
Like for singing
to do. Yeah. Okay. Like for singing. So I took them in high school and some in college. And music was like a big part of our upbringing because my mom was like a music minor, I think, and like always had us in stuff and like choir and musicals and everything. And then when I moved to Nashville, music just like disappeared from my life because everyone in Nashville is like a famous singer and there just were no really opportunities. And so I just started taking voice lessons. I was like, you know what? I want to do this and just for fun. And so I have my second lesson tomorrow and I'm really excited.
Do you do
about it.
like a lot of just like different noises? Like, I don't even know what a voice lesson entails.
All I did was like 2 drills last time, but I'll learn a song. Like, so I'm going to sing in a friend's wedding in the fall, which is like far away. But she was like, well, we can work on that song. Yeah. And then she was like, you can do whatever. I was like, can I sing Adele? And she's like, yes. So we're going to do Adele songs and maybe like Broadway songs. Yeah.
How fun.
I'm excited.
Are you going to have like a recital?
It's going to be like a bunch of 6-year-old kids and me.
Now, Andrea.
Now, my 31-year-old student.
Your parents are like in the front row.
I know. They would be. They'd be like filming it. Like, we're so proud of you. She has not told me about the recitals.
That is hilarious. Okay.
So those are the 3 things. Yeah, voice lessons. So it's kind of fun.
That is
so fun. I just did 2 drills and I was like, oh, it just reminded me of like, that used to be a big part of my life was like that kind of stuff. And so it just was fun to kind of like get back into that. Yeah.
I am tone deaf.
You are?
Uh-huh. Which
are you really tone deaf?
My husband, musician, says that I really am. Which
you could take voice lessons.
He actually, I have asked, is there anything I could do? And he is probably joking, but he's like, there's nothing that they can do for you. But
I don't know. My teacher might be able, but she can maybe help you.
It's so funny. I like it. Like I've told him before when they lead worship, you know, sometimes in a worship song, they're like singing words. And then they do like, like,
yeah, that's
can't believe I just did that. I don't sing during that part.
Oh,
because I don't know how to do what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid people can hear me because it kind of gets a little bit quieter.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So you're just like close.
If there's singing involved and there's no like big bass speakers, I don't sing. I just mouth the words. So I'm glad that
you're
doing
grown up Church of Christ, you probably would have learned because there are no instruments.
That's right.
You know? And so that you just have to like harmonize with each other to like
no,
create
they wouldn't
the
have
music.
Let me in. They would have been like, you're out.
Go back to your Baptist church.
Go back to do the handbells. I did the handbells in Baptist church. Yeah.
You found your place.
I found my place. I would just follow and there's the note, boom, and then bring it back. That's hilarious. Yeah. Okay. So voice lessons. I love it.
Yeah. So those are the 3 things I'm loving.
Okay. So your book, English Lessons, came out in May, which the cover is so beautiful. Who drew that?
Pretty? Her name's Hannah George.
I don't know her. Is this how you wanted to go, the direction?
No. Oh, I have no idea. Okay. I'm not like a visual artist type person at all. And so I was like, whatever y'all want. And they sent me that. And they were like, well, we want to do like an illustration. And she did illustrations for the inside too for each chapter. And I was like, this is so cool. And at first I was like, a white background. Like, that's interesting. But now I really like it. Like,
it's really beautiful.
Pretty. Yeah.
It really makes you, like when I got this in the mail a while ago, and it really makes you look at it and go, what is this book about?
Yeah, right? It's like intriguing.
It is.
Good. That's good. That's a good cover.
Yeah. So English Lessons, I have read a little bit of it before you came over. But what are you reading these days?
I just started a memoir. Have you heard of Addie Zierman?
No, but I love memoirs. It's my favorite.
Okay. Well, this is called Night Driving.
Okay.
Finding Faith in the Dark, I think.
Oh.
And her first book is called When We Were on Fire, and it came out in 2013. And she is just a really good writer, like really good. And she also publishes in like the mainstream publishing world. So I feel like she gets away with a little bit like edgier content.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
which is
I
great.
like it. Yeah. So this is about, she was kind of experiencing some depression and not like quote unquote feeling God. So she packed up her 2 kids, like 4 and 2, like left her husband just at home, and they went on this road trip for 2 weeks from Minnesota to Florida for her to like just find, she's like, I was just looking for something. And so right now they're in Kentucky, I think. And we're just like swimming in the hotel pool, and she like didn't have a corkscrew for her wine. It's just like,
we've all been
funny
there,
stories. Yeah. And she was like panicking, and yeah, it's really good though.
Okay.
She's a really good writer. So I really like her.
I love memoirs.
I do too. Mm-hmm. I usually read fiction. I'm a mostly like fiction reader, but I do love the occasional memoir and like some nonfiction.
What's a good fiction
stuff.
book you've read lately?
Everything I Never Told You is good. It's kind of like a, have you heard of that?
Is it with the lake?
Yes.
Yes, I read it last fall.
It's good. I actually said it like hesitantly recommending it because it's kind of sad.
Yeah,
I mean,
it is.
Totally sad.
Yeah. And I can't ever remember the author's name, so it's hard.
I know. Celeste Ning.
Okay. Yes, you're right.
I think because I follow her on Twitter now. So that's how I know.
Okay.
Yeah, that's really. And the Underground Railroad was really good. Colson Whitehead.
Okay.
Yeah, that was really good. It kind of talks about the Underground Railroad as if it was actually a train underground. And so it's a really cool and sad. I like sad stories.
I like sad stories too. I think that's why sometimes I love memoirs so much, because a lot of times people are writing memoirs, not from like the best experience they've ever had in life, but from like the worst experience they've ever had. And I love them. And my friend Noelle makes fun of me, but I'm like, I don't know. I love really getting inside someone's emotions in the hard times.
No. I think the best art kind of comes from like sad and broken places.
Yeah.
Because happy stuff is just,
I know. It's true.
What good art's going to come from that?
It's happy. It's just happy.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm going to add all of these to my Goodreads list, which is where I keep my books.
Oh, yeah. I need to do that.
I know.
Because then I just forget.
I know. People give me good stuff. Yeah.
No, it's really good.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining me on the happy hour.
Thanks for having me.
This has
Landry,
been,
thank you for having me.
This is like, I know that once this is edited, it's going to sound, you're going to miss out on all the drama that we had here. But Landry, I had her upstairs and she was barking, which you probably heard. And then she escaped and showed up downstairs. And then she like was wanting to jump in Andrea's lap. And so, and I almost I'm going to take her to Aaron's studio. But then I was like, no, they actually, there's people working there. They'd be so mad at me if I showed up with a dog. But anyhow, thank you so much.
Thank you.
People can find you on your blog. You blog there often, don't you?
Yeah, right now I do. I go through phases, but right now it's like almost every week.
And your gig is full-time writer.
Yes. Freelance. So kind of have like other clients, but I
love that.
Writing full time.
I'm sure there are people out there, and we've run out of time, and maybe you've written about this, I don't know, about people who want to be full-time writers.
Yeah. Yeah. It is like not as glamorous as it sounds for sure. And I'm a little bit, I feel like every 6 months I kind of reevaluate. I'm like, do I want to get a full-time job and not just be freelancing? But it's worked out so far. But it's also like I could take kind of April to June to just do book stuff, which was really nice.
Which you couldn't have done if you had,
I would not have been. And it really felt like at times a full-time job and at least a part-time job.
Yeah.
So it's a lot when a book comes out.
Well, everyone should head over to get your book. I'll have all the links to all the books we talked about, everything we chatted about up on my webpage, jamieivey.com. So Andrea, thanks for coming to my house.
Thanks for having me here.
Thanks for coming on the happy hour.
Thank you. Loved it.
All right, guys, I told you would love it. Andrea was so delightful in person, and I was so thankful that she came out to my house. And I loved our conversation about church and questions and Instagram and being very vulnerable with you guys. I know last week I told you that Aaron was actually going to be my guest today, my husband. But let me tell you, we've just had a few hard weeks around here with house stuff. So we never got around to recording. But he's coming on soon, I can promise you that. Guys, today's show was edited by Chris with Podshaper, and the music is from Jason Poe. Did you guess who my guest is next week? Matthew Toe? All right, guys, next week my guest is Catherine Lowe, and you guys are not going to want to miss this show. It was so fabulous to sit down and hear her talk about the details about how her and Sean fell in love on The Bachelor. Yes, the TV show. So you're going to want to come back for that show. Also, you guys, next week, I have some really, really, really big news, like gigantic, huge announcement. So make sure you listen next week. And somewhere in Catherine's show, I'm going to come in and I'm going to tell you about some really big, exciting things that I get to be a part of and that you possibly might get to be a part of as well. So guys, enjoy your week. Share the show with a girlfriend. Have a happy hour with a friend. And if you can do anything to help with all the efforts that are being sent towards Houston for Hurricane Harvey, I highly suggest you find a way to be a part of that. Come back next week and hear my conversation with Catherine Lowe.